what causes anxiety and suffering. Maybe let me tell you my own story, which is not nice story, but good ending, happy ending. My story was, maybe you know, when I was young, I had anxiety disorder or panic disorder, big problem. And when I was in 3-year retreat, you know, I'm doing retreat, and that time I really focus to working with my panic. And what I found is there's two causes of my anxiety, two causes. First, you believe in your panic. Any message come from panic, you think, yes, right, yes, sir. Because you have monkey mind, yeah? What I call monkey mind, blah, 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 yada, 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 always talking. But this voice is not nice always, you know, worry too much, you know, problem, you know. Excuse me. That's a problem, he's not good, she's not good, he's not good, oh, there's danger, oh. And you think, yes, not good, oh, problem, what should I do? You know, and this is why problem become bigger and bigger. And there's this, in your brain, the scientists said there's a lot of neurons in your brain, and they talk a lot. They love gossipy neurons, and the sharing gossip each other, you know. And then one neuron said, oh, there's a problem, oh. And another neuron said, yes, there's a problem, you know, oh, yes. And they make bigger, like political group, you know, make bigger. And then your perception also change, you know. Everything looks like fearful. Everything looks like danger. Cannot sleep. Your heart beats also. And for you, the world is, you know, fearful. Why? Because you believe in your panic. You say, yes, sir. This is why maybe 99, maybe 90, 98 of your perception is not real. You create it. Fear become bigger. This is why if you recognize, this is my own perception. Some scientists said 99% of our worry not going to happen. You know. These are just first cause, and the second cause is after some time later, maybe you don't like your panic. For me also, first I believe panic, yes. Then later on, it drives me crazy, you know, a lot of problem. I don't like my panic. I have fear of my panic. I have panic of panic, aversion of panic, dislike. The fear of panic is stronger than panic sometimes. And then that what I call, hey, you know, you're fighting with the panic, you're against the panic, and that also create more anxiety. The behind of anxiety, there's another anxiety, push you to develop your anxiety. This is why I think the best is the wisdom, which is you recognize your own perception. Maybe you have little problem, but your mind exaggerate the problem, very big. And the method here is compassion and meditation, calm abiding meditation. And that kind of like give you peace peaceful experience. Your mind become more calm and relaxed. A combination of these two, then you can free from panic. That's why this is not only with the panic, or the other sufferings also. Situation in our lives. Everybody has their own suffering. Everybody has their own problems. Each one has different problems. Some is a little bit funny. Some is looks like meaningless. Some is look like big problem. But someone having big problem, but they don't feel it's big problem. I'm okay with that, Who cares? So how your mind look at it? When you have problem, it's always connected with maybe yes sir, or fighting, hey, get out, this problem, This is true. For example, funny problem, maybe I will say funny problem. What is funny problem? I cannot find now. No problems, Not really funny, okay. Some people, they are very worried about, my stomach. I look like I have big stomach. Oh no, who knows, my stomach, And look at the mirror, like, how is my stomach, And maybe your stomach is not so that big. But as you look at the mirror again, then you see, I think my stomach is big, And then it's developed in your brain. These gossipy neurons, they're talking each other. Yes, your stomach is big, not good. Oh, you should do something. Oh, exercise. Oh, whatever. Don't eat, it's too much, But I want to eat, but not good. Your mind said, don't eat, but your stomach said, eat, and they fight. And slowly, you feel like you're very ugly. And every day you feel like your stomach is become bigger and bigger, although it's not. Maybe who knows, become smaller. But you feel like become bigger and bigger, And when you walk in front of other people, she's looking at my big stomach. Or he's looking at my big stomach. Actually, nobody looking at your stomach. But you think like that. Then you cannot communicate with others, you're very shy or embarrassed or, depressed. And then sometimes you may thought, it's maybe it's not real. Maybe I'm just thinking. Maybe I'm just created. I'm thinking that I have big stomach. And you make some research. Maybe they are not looking at my stomach. And the result of your research is, yes, they are looking at your stomach. Actually, they are not. Then your beliefs become stronger. Then you have hope and fear. Yes, no. So it's 90% or 95% is not real. So if you recognize, this is just my own perceptions. Maybe I am a little bit big, but not so that big, And they are not looking at my stomach. Then you can liberate of this problem. And that's what we call wisdom. And how to maintain that recognition, especially with the meditations, better. But without meditation you can do, but with the mindfulness, with awareness, even better. So wisdom and method together. Thank you.